I'm Dean Safola, and this is the Azure Academy. We have a special video for you today in preparation for Ignite, whether you are going or not, because the sessions will be available online, and I wanted to give you some idea of what I'll be doing there. So if you haven't done so already, please do click on the subscribe button and join us here at the Azure Academy community. And if you're at Ignite, come by and see me. I'll be over at the Fast Track area, which will be in the Expo Center, or you can check me out at one of the sessions we'll talk about today. And if you have any questions or comments about this video or anything else that you'd like to see us do in the future, go ahead and leave us a comment down below. So we're going to jump over to the Ignite page. And at the Ignite page, which is www.microsoft.com/Ignite, then at the top go to Sessions, and this will list all of the different sessions that will be happening at Ignite. And you can find me by typing in the search box here, my last name, CEFOLA, and then you can press the search icon. And you can see the 5 sessions that I'm involved with at Ignite. And over on the right side here, you can see the times and locations where those will be. And I want to look at the bottom one first. This will be happening at Theater 1 in the Expo Hall. This is about the cloud adoption framework and how we use the Foundation Blueprint that I wrote, and that's available in your Azure portal right now for you to use, and how those will help you set some guardrails around your environment. Now, the additional sessions that are here all fall under another category, and this is kind of a new thing that we're doing at Ignite. This is going to be hands-on interactive sessions. So this is kind of where I want to spend our time today, because I've got a very large environment that I've configured in order to make this happen. In the past, when we've been at Ignite and we've had these hands-on labs or sessions, we've asked customers to go into there and create their own Azure subscription, usually as a free Azure credit subscription, a pay-as-you-go subscription, something like that, so that you could test out what it is that the lab was built around. So I was discussing this with the team, and we decided that we had a better way of doing this. So we have created an environment and pre-staged everything for you. So when you come in, we will give you credentials. You'll walk into the environment that's already set up, and we can get right to work. And these are going to be hands-on sessions and discussion sessions, and we're looking for feedback, not only on the cloud adoption framework, but also the blueprints that we have created, or any other things that you think are relevant to the topics of governance or landing zones as you move into the cloud. And so it looks like I'll be pretty busy at Ignite, but please come in and stop by. I will actually have some stickers with me as well. And those stickers will be of the Azure Academy logo, so you'll definitely want to get your hands on those. I'm coming with 200 stickers, so it'll be first come, first serve. So with that, let's go over to the Azure portal. So I want to walk you through the environment that I have, as well as how to set it up, because this is a great example of how to do a very large scale deployment in Azure. So in this case, to accommodate all of the people who could come to the sessions, we have 80 Azure subscriptions that we have to set up and manage. First of all, to do that, we needed an Azure Active Directory. So we created a new Azure AD and called it Ignite Cloud Adoption Framework Demo. And in this environment, I've got to set up some users here, and we need to give each of the users that'll be at our sessions owner access over their own subscriptions, so that everyone can add their own blueprints, which are applied at a subscription level. So in order to do that, I first had to create 80 subscriptions. Now, to create a new subscription, the first thing we have to do is be signed in with an account that is an owner of our Azure Active Directory, and we need to click the Add button. We do that, we'll get a new tab opened up, and that'll bring us to the Add Subscription page, and you will be signed in with your current credentials. And then you have to select an offer. Now, these are the types of subscriptions that we have, and all of the ones that I set up were pay as you go. And if this is your first time doing a subscription, you will have to enter your payment information here. I've already done that part here, so I'll just click Next. And then we need to add what kind of technical support we'd like associated with this subscription. I'll be selecting no technical support, and that is because these are only going to be temporary subscriptions in my case. It is recommended that you have a support plan associated with your subscription. So I will hit next here, and then we have the license agreement, which I will check after, of course, having read the subscription agreement, offer details, and privacy statements. And then we will hit sign up, which I'm not going to do because I've already done this process for all of these subscriptions I had to create. So once you've created your subscriptions, they'll be listed here as pay-as-you-go as their name because that's the kind of subscription you created. So then you have to rename them. And inside the subscription, we push the rename button, type in our new name, and hit save. So once we've added our subscriptions and renamed them all, and the purpose of renaming is to conform with our naming standard, which is a good governance best practice, as well as a practice under the Cloud Adoption Framework. And then once we have those, we've also set up some management groups. Currently, every subscription is under our tenant root group, and we need to get them moved under our individual management groups for our environments. So to do that, inside any one of these management groups, you'd open it, then click Details, click Add Subscription, select the one that you want, and then hit save. But I'm not going to do that because from here on, we're going to automate everything. So we need to move 80 subscriptions under the appropriate management group. Once that is done, we need to apply the Cloud Adoption Framework Blueprint to every one of these 80 subscriptions so that we can get them set and prepped for our sessions that we'll be having at Ignite. And then that will, of course, add for us several resource groups as well as Azure policies, which currently we have nothing assigned. And then we will also be setting the Security Center to standard. And right now, all of these subscriptions are currently with the free offering. So let's reset ourselves here and open up PowerShell. So I've written this script in a series of groups of code, and that is so that you can run each section individually if you need to, as well as when running it against 80 subscriptions, this is something that could take a while per step, and I've taken some actions here to mitigate some of that, as you'll see. So the first thing we have to do is get our PowerShell environment ready, and that would be by finding and installing the PowerShell modules necessary to do the rest of the script. And then we have this second section, which is to authenticate to Azure. And then we'll be adding our credentials encrypted and then logging into all of the Azure services necessary. So let's run that section. And it asks us to put in our password and then click OK. And now we're all logged in and our creds have been stored in this variable $creds so that we can call them whenever we want. So the next section here is about creating the profile around our users. So our users are all going to be given the user prefix of Ignite user. And then we're going to have a domain name of ignitecafdemo.onmicrosoft and our domain suffix of .com. So you can customize this for whatever works in your environment. And then I'm combining all of those together. And then we have the section underneath that, and this can all be run at the same time, related to our password profile. So when creating a new user in Azure AD, you need a password and you need to have some things around their password policy and whether or not they have to change their password when they log in. So I'll run this entire section and I just have a default password here that everyone in my environment will get. And then we'll go down to this section to prep our environment. And so we begin here with needing to create the Azure AD users. So let me run this section and then I'll show you what's in it. Now, what you can see happening on the left is we are creating a series of jobs because we are running this against 80 subscriptions at the same time. And so rather than run the script against the first one and then wait and let that finish and then start it against the second one and wait for that to finish, running them as jobs was a much more efficient way to get all these tasks to run because these jobs run in the background. But I want to explain the flow here on the right side in the script. So this works because I have a standard naming convention, and that is a fundamental principle of governance. All my subscriptions are named in the same way. My users are named after the same pattern, and that way I can take the user's prefix here, which we've already defined for you as Ignite user, combine that with a number 1 through 80, and then I'm combining the prefix and the number together, as well as building that email out of the prefix, number, and fully qualified name. And that is chucked into a variable. And then we're doing for each loops as we go through the process so that we can grab each user with each number, parse those, and add them to our job script. So the job itself is quite simple. We have a start job command. Each job gets a name. Each job has a script block, and that's where you put your code that you're going to run. And if you have variables that you want to put inside your job, you add an argument list. Each one of these arguments is positional. So you can see here I have argument 0, argument 1, 2, 3, 4, and those just go down the list. Okay, so however many arguments you want to add, that's fine. Just put in another arguments with a number, and it must be $args with the square brackets and a number in order for it to be recognized by the script block. And then it's just running the command. In this case, I'm logging on to Azure Active Directory, and then we're running the command of new Azure AD user and asking for all of these particular properties, which we have passed in as arguments. Once that has run, over on the left here, we can do a clear screen and then do a get job command. And we can see there are all of our jobs, and they are all currently completed. Now, scrolling up, we can see that this table has a section here that says has more data, and the value is true. Now, I'm going to show you something here that you can do with your jobs. I mean, you can get the job again, but this time we're going to pass it an ID. Okay, and when you hit space, IntelliSense is going to bring up the number of IDs that you have. So I'll just grab this first one, and then we're going to do a pipe and send that to another command called receive job. Now, when you do this, it will take that ID and get the data from it so you can receive that job and see what's inside. So when I hit enter, we can see all the data inside this particular command. This was done with my credentials, and it was running to create object ID right here for Ignite user number 1 with the mail nickname of Ignite user 1 and the user principal name of the fully qualified domain name. Now, if I run that same command again, there's no data. So why is this? Let's do a get job command again. And that was number 489. Now we see has more data is false. So when you get a job and you receive that job data, it's a one-time thing. Now that sounds pretty terrible. So instead of just leaving you out in the cold, there's another switch that we've added to this command. So we'll run receive job again, but this time we're going to run it against another ID, and we're going to add another parameter to our receive job, and that will be to keep. And keep tells us to not throw away the data. So we get our keep job, and there is our data. And we'll clear the screen and just run that same command again, and there's our data again. And going back to the main get job screen, scroll all the way back up, we can see that our data for 491 still is true. So that's how you can get your data, and you can see the data and hold on to it for as long as you want inside this PowerShell session. Now, once you're done with the job, you can then pass that to another command to remove the jobs. And then I'm going to add the force flag because I don't need to keep any of those anymore. And so when we run get job again, there are now no jobs. Now that we've run that process, let's go back to the Azure portal and we'll hit the refresh button. And now we see there's our users. And we can scroll down and see all 80 of our new users have been created and they all have the right data. So that part's done. Now we need to take all of our subscriptions that are here under our tenant root group and divide them up underneath our dev, prod, sandbox, and UAT management groups to make managing the environment a little easier. So back in PowerShell, we can just run the next section here. In this case, we're doing this in different blocks because they're going to different management groups. And we'll take numbers 1 through 20 and add them to the dev group. And then we'll add some text onto the screen so we know what we're doing. And then we have our job. And the job is going to be to run the new management group subscription, which is going to take a subscription and put it inside a management group. And we have our arguments. All right, so we'll run this entire section and that'll kick off our jobs. And that'll be done in a few moments. And then we'll look at the Azure portal. And you can see that all of our subscriptions are moved from underneath our tenant root group into one of these other management groups. And we could look at them in here and see what all has been moved, but we can get a better view in the Security Center under Security Policy. So we get kind of this exploded view of all of our subscriptions and management groups. And you can see 20 are under each one of our Dev, Prod, Sandbox, and UAT. So now that we have the subscriptions all set up under our management groups, we need to grant our users the ownership of each of their own subscriptions. So we'll go under Azure Active Directory and our users here. So what we're going to do is take a user, for example, Ignite User 11, and we're going to add this email address. We're going to have to grant it ownership rights of its own subscription. So in the Ignite User 11 subscription under Access Control, we'll view the role assignments and see currently the user is not here, only this admins group, and that really has just my identities in it for administration. So we need to add that user so he can see what's going on in his own subscription, but nobody else's. So let's go back to PowerShell. And we're going to run this next section to assign users to the subscription owners. So we'll kick that off. This one's the one exception in this PowerShell script. So I just did this without doing it as jobs. And so we're just doing a bunch of for each loops to get the appropriate group and user as we did before, get the right subscription ID, and then add that user through this command to be the owner of the subscription. And we'll come back when this is done. And as you can see, we've added our Ignite 11 user to the Ignite subscription as an owner at this resource level. So that way all they'll be able to see is just this subscription. And if we go down to another one, say 28, and we check that one, then that user is there as well. So that's how we're going to isolate our users. Now we come to the main thing that I was writing this script for as I was getting ready for this, and that is to prepare the environment for getting our blueprints distributed into each environment. In the blueprint definitions, I've already set up the CAF-Foundation Blueprint. And for those of you who don't know, from the Getting Started page, you click Create, and then you can select the CAF-Foundation, and CAF stands for the Cloud Adoption Framework. And this foundational blueprint has to do with governance and best practices from the Cloud Adoption Framework to set up your environment. And we've done a whole video on the CAF-Foundation and the migration landing zone blueprints that I created in the Azure portal. And you can see the YouTube card over here if you missed that video. So under the assigned blueprints, you can see currently there is nothing assigned to any of our subscriptions, and we are going to want to assign this particular blueprint to all 80 of our subscriptions. We have two choices. We could do this by hand 80 times, or we can just do it one time through a script that'll be run as a job in every environment. And the reason why I say that is if we hit Assign Blueprint up here, the portal will allow us to deploy this blueprint to all 80 of these subscriptions at once. But there is a problem. Because of how the blueprint is written, it is going to request a organizational name, and that's usually your company, like Contoso, for example. Then based on that name, it's going to build for us other resource names, one of which is a key vault. And key vaults require that all of the names of all key vaults around the world be globally unique. So we can't run all of these at once. We have to run them individually. So for that, we're going to need PowerShell. I will again kick off the script and then we'll see what's in it. And this is a big one. So we're doing the same kind of for each looping that we've done all throughout this script, but then we come to the job itself. The job uses a new AZ blueprint assignment command to assign our blueprint, and we've got that stored in our tenant resource group, and then we're going to assign that to each subscription individually. So we have to pass all of the appropriate parameters, give it a unique organizational name so that we get unique named resources in the end. The parameter here for for the Blueprint org name that we're passing is the name of the subscription itself. So Ignite User 7, Ignite User 63, that'll be the org name. And then we're passing all of the other parameters here to be the same across all of these deployments. And as you can see, these jobs are almost done fully kicking off, and then we'll be able to watch the results in the Azure portal. And there we go. So let's flip over and see what's going on. Okay, so we're in the portal and we'll just hit refresh here and we can see all of our jobs are deploying, and you can see they've got their unique names matching up with the numbers of our subscriptions. So this will take several minutes to go and deploy, and then once it's done, we'll have all 80 subscriptions ready to roll for our Ignite session. All right, so all of our blueprints have finished deploying, and let's see what we have got. So if we go to our subscriptions and we pull up any one of them, first thing we can see under the resource locks at the bottom of the blade is that there should be 3 locks, one for the storage account, Key Vault, and Log Analytics workspaces across every subscription. And then we also have all of our resource groups. You can see we have the same resource groups created for every single subscription. Then the Security Center, we go to Price and Settings, and you can see all of that. And then additionally, our Log Analytics workspaces, you can see how many we've got all built out. And of course, there are the Azure policies. So if we go to Policy Assignments, we can see that there are over 500 assignments that have been made now, and that is across all of our subscriptions. And the compliance numbers, yep, none of the assignments have started reporting in their data yet. That'll take a little bit of time, but they will all function individually and take care of that. And finally, we go to all services and we go to tags. We can see that we have a tag created for the cost code of each subscription, and those are enforced by tags on all resource groups in their subscription and all resources. So everything will be tied back to a cost code, so we know who to charge back for all of those things. The final thing that I'll show you is in our script as well. So part of what I'm going to have to do, because this session will be given multiple times, is I am going to have to tear down everything that we have just built and reset the environment for new users to come in and do the hands-on session. So I've got similar scripts, but they go reverse. So we're going to remove all of the Blueprint assignments, reset the Security Center back to free, delete all of the things that the Blueprint has deployed, which includes resource locks, Azure policies, resource groups, and then delete all of the users. And we could even go so far as to reset all the management groups back to the tenant root group if we needed to. And then we can just go through the script again and rebuild the environment. So I hope that you've enjoyed looking at how to set up a massive amount of Azure subscriptions through PowerShell and the power of the PowerShell Jobs and how they can scale everything that you're doing across multiple environments. And the key to making these things really easy to manage is having a good solid naming convention that is enforced everywhere. That would be something I would look into. If you do not have that, it will make your life much, much easier. And that script will be available on my GitHub and linked below the video. And while you're down there, please do click on the thumbs up icon if you thought this video was good, and if not, well, then you know what to do. And while you're also down there, please do click on the subscribe button and join us here at the Azure Academy community, and click the notification bell so you can receive an email when our videos come out, which is roughly once a week. And we will see you at Ignite or online at the next video. Happy learning!